In this part of the workflow, let's take a closer look at our imported pattern pieces and learn more about navigating around our 2D window. Identifying our pattern pieces helps us ensure that we have all the necessary patterns to create our 3D garment with. To get a closer look, let's go ahead and maximize our 2D window workspace. To do this, we will first place our cursor inside of our 2D window and then press Tab on our keyboard. To zoom in and out of your 2D window, you can use the scroll button on your mouse, or you can also find the manual buttons on the top right corner of your window. To use them, all we have to do is just click on the icons. For panning around your 2D workspace, press and hold your spacebar while clicking and dragging around the background. If you need to reset your view, you may choose the View All button to view all of your pattern pieces. To select and move our pattern pieces, we will first need to be in the Selection tool, which can be found on the main toolbar. The Selection tool allows us to select elements within our 2D and 3D windows, such as pieces, lines, and also points. So let's try to select and move a piece. First, we will click on the pattern piece to select it and then hold to drag or move it around. To multi-select your patterns, click and hold on the background and drag your cursor across the patterns you would like to select. Now you can pick all of them up and move them all together. To view the pattern names on our pieces, we can turn on the Shape Info button in our Show or Hide toolbar. The icons found on the Show or Hide toolbar allows us to show and hide elements on our 2D pieces as we are working. Currently, the pieces are only displaying the unique piece ID. To display the pattern name, we will need to ensure Pieces Names is enabled. For this, we will go to the view in our main menu, navigate to 2D display within the drop-down, and choose Shape Options to check Pieces Names. So now that we have enabled Pieces Names, we can see the name of our pattern pieces in our 2D window. So now that we know what our pattern pieces are, we can go ahead and space them out for easier reference, while at the same time checking to ensure that we have the pieces that we need. Next, we will change the orientation of some of our pattern pieces. To rotate, we will need to ensure that the Gizmo tool is first enabled in our horizontal toolbar. Next, we're going to click inside of the piece to select it, and then we're going to click and drag on the small black point to rotate it. To constrain the rotation in 45-degree angles, make sure you hold down Shift on your keyboard while rotating. For sleeve pieces, we recommend rotating them horizontally where the back of the sleeve cap is facing the top of the screen. This will help when we move on to arranging the pieces in Arrange mode later on. So now let's go ahead and space out and arrange the hoodie top pieces together so that we can get a clear overview of all the pieces once they're laid out. So as I can see, I have cuff pieces for my sleeves, as well as a flare panel piece for my front and my back bodice. For our hood pieces, we also recommend rotating them horizontally so that the opening of the hood piece is facing the top part of the screen. Let's try moving the legging pieces using the multi-select method we learned earlier to reposition them. So now it appears that we have most of our pieces to create the garment with, but there are some pieces that only have half of the pattern. If the patterns are symmetrical, we can use the symmetry function inside vstitcher to resolve this issue. To create a full pattern with inner symmetry, we will first select the symmetry axis on our pattern piece. For example, this would be the center front of our front bodice pattern. Next, we will navigate to our context view and go to Edge Symmetry to click on the Create button. Automatically, it has created the mirror half of our pattern for us. So let's go ahead and apply the method once again to the back bodice piece. If we would like to create a symmetrical copy of the piece, we will first need to select the piece we would like to create symmetry for. Then in our context view, we will choose Symmetry, and then click on X to create the mirrored pair. To identify pieces with symmetry, we can look at the bottom corner of our pieces, where the original parent pattern is labeled X, and the mirrored child pattern is labeled Sym X. The patterns with inner symmetry are identified with the dotted line on the symmetry axis, as you can see here on the center back line of our back bodice. So now let's use the Symmetry X method on our legging pieces to create their mirrored pair. Great, so it looks like we now have all the necessary pieces. Let's proceed to arrange and prepare them in 3D.